Well, 48 hours ago, I was invoking magic by the river, by the Rio Negro. 24 hours ago, I was in Sao Gabriel de Cachoeira, near the Venezuelan-Colombian border. And now, 24 hours later, I'm in Sao Paulo, close to Uruguay. It is magic. The way things happen is, I felt that I wanted to get out of there, but I didn't force it. And here I am. So nothing better to do than exercise, invoke magic again, and do it outside an airport, international terminal of Guarulhos Airport at Sao Paulo. There's some grass growing up there on an elevated roof, and some plants on my side here, clouds. So why not try to invoke magic in such a harsh place, a nature devoid place? Gracias sonido, gracias nube, gracias sol, gracias planta, gracias pasto, gracias cielo, gracias lluvia, gracias agua, gracias río, gracias mar, gracias arroyo, gracias laguna, gracias roca, gracias piedra, gracias barro, gracias ceniza, gracias fuego, gracias llama, gracias carbón, gracias vida, gracias madre, gracias padre, gracias mano, gracias uña, gracias dedo. Much obliged moon, much obliged whale, much obliged sand. Much obliged liver, much obliged kidney, much obliged brain, much obliged heart, much obliged lung, much obliged foot, much obliged toe, much obliged penis, much obliged nipple, much obliged belly, much obliged uterus, much obliged cervix, much obliged asshole, much obliged belly button, much obliged earlobe, much obliged pancreas, much obliged pituitary, much obliged thyroid, much obliged voice, much obliged sound, much obliged sun, much obliged bird, much obliged egg, much obliged nest, much obliged feather, much obliged tail, much obliged wind, much obliged asteroid, much obliged Mars, much obliged planet, much obliged proton, much obliged neutron, much obliged electron, much obliged positron, much obliged neutrino. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Ay, 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 Gracias madre, gracias padre, gracias mujer, gracias hombre, gracias niña, gracias niño, gracias bebé, gracias feto, gracias esperma, gracias huevo, gracias egg, gracias embrio, gracias much obliged life. Much obliged, life. Much obliged, 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 much obliged. Much obliged, 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 much obliged. Much obliged, 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 much obliged. Much obliged, 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 much obliged. Much obliged. Gracias, 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 gracias. Gracias, 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 gracias. Much obliged, much obliged, much obliged, much obliged, much obliged, much obliged, much obliged. Gracias, Paloma.